Saving your first $5,000 feels brutal. Not a little difficult, not kind of annoying. I mean brutal. It feels like every time you make progress, life shows up with a bill. Your car breaks down, your rent goes up, your phone dies. You finally save a little money and then it disappears. And that's why so many people get stuck. Because the beginning of building wealth feels completely unfair. But here's the weird part. Once you reach around $20,000, something changes. Not magically, not overnight, but noticeably. The jump from $20,000 to $50,000 often feels faster than the jump from 0 to $5,000. Why? Because at $20,000, you stop relying only on effort and you start benefiting from momentum. That's the invisible wall. Most people never realize the hardest money to save is not your last $20,000. It's your first. And if you can break through that wall, everything changes. So what exactly is the 20K rule? It's the idea that around $20,000, your finances start behaving differently. This is the point where money stops feeling fragile and starts feeling useful. Below that level, every setback hurts. Above that level, you finally have room to breathe, plan, and move. Think of it like a snowball. At the beginning, the snowball is tiny. You have to push it constantly. Every inch takes effort. But once it gets big enough, gravity helps. Now the snowball starts rolling faster on its own. That's what happens with money. Or think of it like a plane taking off. A plane burns the most energy during takeoff. It has to fight gravity, friction, and resistance all at once. But once it hits the right speed, it lifts. That's what 20,000 is. Not because 20K is some magical number, but because it's often the point where you have a real emergency fund. You can handle unexpected expenses without panic. You can invest with confidence, and you can make decisions from strength instead of desperation. That's the key. $20,000 is takeoff speed for wealth. Before $20,000, money controls your decisions. After $20,000, you start controlling your money. Before $20,000, one surprise expense can wipe you out. After $20,000, a surprise expense becomes annoying but survivable. Before $20,000, every paycheck already has a job before it arrives. After $20,000, you finally have margin. And margin changes everything. Because wealth doesn't just grow from income, it grows from space. Space to think, space to wait, space to choose better options, space to stop making expensive panic decisions. That's why people who hit this threshold often look like they suddenly became good with money. They didn't suddenly become geniuses. They just finally reached the point where money stopped punching them in the face every month. The first pillar of this transformation is mastery of budgeting. And let's be honest, budgeting has terrible branding. People hear the word budget and imagine spreadsheets, guilt, and never buying coffee again. That's not real budgeting. Real budgeting is just telling your money where to go before life decides for you. When you're trying to reach your first $20,000, budgeting matters because random spending is deadly at this stage. Not because you need to become obsessive, but because leaks matter when the tank is still small. The goal is simple. Know what's coming in, know what's going out, know what can be cut, renegotiated, or redirected. Once you do that, saving stops feeling random. It becomes a system, and systems beat motivation every time. The second pillar is the one most people ignore: income acceleration. If you're only trying to save your way to $20,000 by cutting expenses, you're making this way harder than it needs to be. Because there is a limit to how much you can cut, but there's a much bigger upside to how much you can earn. This is where side hustles, freelancing, overtime, selling skills, and job hopping come in. A lot of people stay focused on saving $10 here and $20 there, while ignoring the fact that an extra $500 a month could completely change the timeline. That's the shift. To reach your first $20,000 faster, you need to stop thinking only like a saver and start thinking like an income builder. Because the truth is, for most people, the first $20,000 is earned into existence more than it is frugaled into existence. The third pillar is new opportunities, and this is where things get really interesting. Because once you have $20,000, you stop seeing money only as protection. You start seeing it as leverage. Now you can take a calculated career risk, move to a better city for better pay, start a small business, invest consistently, buy time back, and say no to bad opportunities because you're not desperate. That's huge. People think money only changes what you can buy. No, money changes what you can refuse, and that's power. Let's make this real. Meet Alex. Alex is 29, works a decent job, and is trying to get financially responsible. At first, Alex is motivated. They cut subscriptions, start meal prepping, and set up automatic savings. And for 2 months, it works. Then life happens. A dental bill, a friend's wedding, a higher utility bill, a car repair, and suddenly the savings account drops back down. This is the part nobody talks about enough, the messy middle. The stage where you're trying, but it still feels like you're stuck in place. Alex starts wondering, what's the point? I save, then life takes it. That's where most people quit. But Alex does one thing right. Instead of only trying to cut more, Alex decides to increase income. A few extra shifts, some freelance work on weekends, selling things that were collecting dust, using the extra money only for savings and debt payoff. Now, progress starts to feel real. Alex hits $5,000, then $8,000, then pays off a credit card. Now monthly cash flow improves too. That's when the momentum begins. A year later, Alex hits $20,000. And here's what changes. A surprise expense no longer means a crisis. Alex invests without fear of needing to pull the money back out. Alex negotiates for a better job because there's finally breathing room. Alex sleeps better. That last part matters more than people admit, because financial progress is not just math, it's mental. And at $20,000, Alex no longer feels like one bad month away from disaster. That's the real transformation. So how do you actually get there? Here are 3 practical steps. First, build a no-leak budget. Go through your last 60 to 90 days of spending and ask, what am I paying for that I barely use? What bills can I renegotiate? What habits are draining money without improving my life? You don't need a perfect budget. You need a budget that catches waste and redirects it automatically. Set a fixed savings transfer every payday, even if it starts small. Consistency matters more than intensity. Second, attack high-interest debt and boost cash flow. If you're carrying high-interest credit card debt, that debt is fighting your savings every single month. It's like trying to fill a bucket while someone drills holes in the bottom. Focus on knocking out the highest interest debt first, or use the method that keeps you motivated enough to stay consistent. The point is not to win a math contest. The point is to free up cash flow, because every debt payment you eliminate becomes money that can now go toward your first $20,000. Third, create a dedicated side hustle stream. Not 5, not 10, 1. Pick something realistic: freelancing, tutoring, weekend service work, reselling, content editing, delivery driving, pet sitting, virtual assistants. And here's the rule. Every dollar from that side hustle goes to one place only, your 20K fund. Don't mix it into everyday spending. Don't kind of save it. Don't reward yourself with half of it. Protect it. Because the faster you hit that threshold, the faster money starts working differently. Let's end with the mindset shift most people need. Your first $20,000 is not just a savings goal. It's proof. Proof that you can delay gratification. Proof that you can build systems. Proof that you can survive the messy middle without quitting. Proof that you can create momentum. And once you believe that, you stop looking at wealth like something other people have. You start seeing it as something you can build, slowly at first, painfully even, but build it anyway. Here's the truth. The first $20,000 is the hardest money you will ever save. Not because it's the biggest amount you'll ever have, but because it requires the biggest transformation from who you were before. It forces you to become more disciplined, more intentional, and more resourceful. And once you do that, everything changes. Because after $20,000, you're no longer just surviving month to month. You've built momentum. You've reached takeoff speed. And from that point on, wealth stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. So if you're in that frustrating stage right now, good. That means you're in the part that matters most. Keep going, because the first $20,000 may be the hardest money you ever save,
but it could also be the money that changes your life forever.